We have less EAs today, and we have to change that. So we're going to do an audit to find out where the money is going. Obviously, by removing carbon tax, which schools have applied to them as well, that'll save money, which can then be directed to front lines. Another one that I'm proud of is we are going to provide funding for $1 million for Wellness Resiliency and Partnerships Program, and that's specific for kids with fetal alcohol spectrum disorder.
Thank you. I think Paula, you're next.
Thank you for that question. Education is very important. Some of our kids' curriculums predate the internet, so Rachel team initiated the biggest curriculum rewrite in Alberta's history. We owe it to our students to ensure they are learning the skills they need to build bright futures for themselves and our province. I will continue to advocate for both appropriate staff for both special needs children and English as a second language. Our government is also offering many other languages within schools, so children that English is their second language can also continue to learn their other language that they came to Canada speaking. Our education system will remain public, and that is very important for the children with special needs.
Thank you. Is everybody? The mic?
In 1985, the unemployment rate for the Progressive Conservatives was 11.3%.
Mic's working now.
Anybody can hear me?
Yeah, there are people over there who can't hear you.
It is working?
I'll repeat what I said then. In 1985, the unemployment rate in Alberta was 11.3% under the Progressive Conservatives. In 1993, it was 9.6% under the Progressive Conservatives. In 2010, it dropped to 6.6% under the Progressive Conservatives. In 2016, it was 8.1% under the NDP. And in 2019, it was 7.3% under the NDP. From these figures, it's fairly obvious that we have a cyclical economy based on the oil industry. I'd like to know what all the candidates would do to break that cycle.
Fair enough. Travis.
In independent Alberta, we have plans to build factories and refineries to bring our oil to a usable product form. We'll put hundreds of thousands of people to work. Also, with the decentralization from Ottawa, we'll bring 160,000 government service jobs straight to Alberta in the first 4 years alone. That being said, we will not have immigration until we hit a 3.75% unemployment rate in a new Alberta. So we will be focusing on putting Albertans to work first. Thank you.
Thank you. Christy?
So in my opening, I really didn't tell you who I am, and I'm a social worker by trade, and I work for a nonprofit organization. And I cut my social worker teeth in the 90s when we were going through some of the largest cuts that we've ever seen. And I'm going to look at Yvonne because she was there right along with me. And what we've seen was we've seen a system that moved people from welfare to unemployment to welfare through these 6-month training things that did nothing other than just move numbers around. So when you give me those stats, I can say that I have actually lived those stats, and I actually can tell you the amount of people that we put on buses that live on East Hastings Street in Vancouver right now because of what we did in the 90s. And I'm not sugarcoating that because that's part of my story. Like we live that every day. And so what I would tell you is that in order to get away from the economy, we need to diversify.
Thank you. Paul?
I think you can tell by the color of my hair, I've lived through a little bit of that. There was this cyclical up and down, job, no job, high interest, no loans available, so on. So a lot of that is a direct result of governments who have cherry-picked the low-hanging fruit of our economy What is the easy money? And the easy money has always been oil, the easy money has always been gas, and they focus on oil and gas development, oil and gas development. Let's grab our tax money from the oil and gas, our royalties, etc. That can no longer happen. All the other fruit out there cannot be left to rot. There are entrepreneurs out there who are going bankrupt. I drove through Piers the other day. There are 4 stores that have closed in the last 5 months. That is reprehensible. Government needs to find ways of not only diversifying, but defining what diversification is. And diversification is lowering taxes that are going to help entrepreneurs, providing incentives that are going to help small, medium, and large businesses come into Alberta, and not only just come in, but hire people, train people, keep people, and grow our infrastructure.
Martin?
Yeah, simple answer, we need to diversify. It can look like a number of different things. We can use our existing forest industry to bring in renewable energies like biomass and bioenergy. We can use our oil and gas industry to actually, kudos to the NDP for a project down by Fort Saskatchewan that strips propylene from propane, and they make polypropylene down there. The biggest thing for us is that we need to make Alberta a place that attracts industry so we can diversify our economy through lower taxation and getting rid of the red tape that drives industry out of our province.
Thank you. Paula?
Rachel Nolley was dealt a tough hand, but she's done a good job at diversifying our economy. She's decided to build instead of cut and hire instead of fire. Now, thanks to those choices that Rachel made, Alberta's economy is recovering. Since the recession, we've added 80,000 full-time jobs, and Alberta will lead the country in growth next year. There is more work to do, and we are committed to working hard until recovery reaches every family. Rachel's team is diversifying our economy through a Made in Alberta plan that is slated to bring $12 billion of private investments to this province. The new projects will process more oil and gas resources here in Alberta, keeping more jobs here at home. We are also refusing to make things worse by laying off teachers and nurses. Over the past few years, a new technology sector is exponentially growing in Alberta. Our petrochemical diversification plan will alleviate the boom and bust cycles, creating a need for oil and gas at home. We are committed to diversifying our economy.
Thank you. Okay, I have a question here. How can we get our food crops away from GMO and Monsanto use? A future vision for your party, maybe? So I guess we're talking about
GMOs.
GMO-free food and go ahead, Travis, if you're ready.
As a farmer myself, I am strongly against the GMO craze that is sweeping the world right now. I know our party has no official status on that due to the fact that during the 4-year transition period, a free Alberta will come up with that by the people, for the people. Thank you.
Anybody ready? Martin?
If we want to change the way that we do things now, we have to educate people in how to do things better. That's something that's obvious, whether it's GMOs or any other way that we have our food processed.
Oh, go ahead.
I recently read a report on GMOs and the food production in the world. It is said that there is no possible way that we can feed the world's population without some form of GMO. That said, our party's position is all GMO foods need to be labeled as such. You need to be an informed recipient or informed purchaser. We've also said, as I mentioned earlier on, that we're going to be supporting homegrown foods and community gardens, et cetera, like that, for the Buy Local program. The Buy Local program obviously is going to eliminate the GMO argument.
Thank you for your question. I don't know specifics for GMOs, but I do know that our government supports the local grown foods, and our party has a food council that I would love to bring forward the issue of GMOs and advocate for that issue. I also know that food regulations are federal jurisdiction, so we would have to also work with them.
So you guys are telling me my broccolini, I have to get rid of it because I really, really like it a lot. I think that when we talk about GMOs, we need to start in the form of educating around GMOs, as well as I'm also on board with some programs where we're starting to grow our own. One of the saddest things that I think is that when I go work at my local food bank, people typically will give back the things that they have to cook, and so we have lost our ability for people to grow and cook their own, to supply their own, so that's something I'd be interested in.
Did you get a chance, Mark? Okay, everybody's done?
Yeah, everybody's done.
Anybody from the mic? Go ahead, Mr. Pluck.
I would like to know what each party's position is on funding for public libraries. There's currently we get funding from our municipality and through a provincial grant, and I would like to know your positions on funding for public libraries.
I'll speak first.
Sure.
I'm a big supporter of public libraries. Actually, one of the most impressive things you can come into Jasper about is your little libraries. They're literally scattered everywhere, and I love them. And I came to Jasper probably about a year ago, 6 months ago, and went back to Edson and said, we've really got to look at little libraries because they're super cool, and Jasper is super cool for doing it. And I like the vibe, how libraries have diversified themselves and made themselves, include the different levels of literacy. And if you go into a library these days, it becomes a very vibrant, a good place to meet. And I really appreciate everything that the libraries do in terms of in terms of programming too. I think it's excellent.
Anybody ready? Go ahead, Marty.
We have nothing specific for anything new for public funds for libraries. I understand that it is allotted for in provincial government right now, and I'd like to find out more from you about what you think a good plan is going forward that I can take back to caucus.
Okay. Paul?
Thank you for the question on the libraries. As you mentioned, library funding comes from the municipality, and it's that trickle-down funding. Provincial governments can't really fund you unless there is an application for a nonprofit organization. And, governments really need to govern properly. That's what it's about, governance. It's not about politics. And part of the governance is finding money where money is needed and putting it there. So we need to find ways of giving more money to the municipality, and then the municipality can trickle it down to the library. There's all sorts of bursaries and grants that are available, and I encourage the libraries to continue to apply for them.
Oh, sorry. Hey, Travis.
The Alberta Independence Party, for starters, has earmarked $15 billion to go to the 87 different constituencies across Alberta in the first 5 years. That's giving $46 million to each of the ridings to do with as they choose by a vote of the citizens of that riding. So if you choose to rework your library, you will have funds for that. Thank you.
Paula?
Thank you, Dale. For public libraries, like you said, it is funded by municipal funding. But I would love to work with you, the library board, the municipality, and the new Democrat government to properly find the amount of funding that would be necessary for the library, for the programs that you'd like to offer. It's also really important to me that, our library continues to carry on. It's got some good history, but it also has that new development, and it's a lot of fun to explore and share stories with my children. I want to continue to have that, and I will advocate with you for it.
Thank
I, yeah.
Okay, that's everybody on that question?
Yeah.
I've got one here. Cannabis was legalized on October 17th. Small businesses have been in limbo for over a year now. Product shortage is blamed, but the government has pages of available product while our small businesses struggle to endure the wait. Our government cannot be our wholesaler, regulator, and competition. What will you do to serve the small businesses and eliminate the multiple hats being worn by the government? Marijuana legalization and the role of the provincial government. Travis, ready to go.
All government agencies will be reworked from the top down in an independent Alberta, and that will be one of them. All waste and mismanagement will be eliminated, and making it more efficient for the consumer and the public. Thank you.
Paul?
As I've mentioned a few times earlier tonight, deregulation is a key part of our platform. Getting rid of that red tape, getting government out of the business of business, and helping small businesses grow through incentives, through tax cuts, through training, through market share, etc. We really need to get our products to market. We need to get more businesses in here, and we need to find ways of making that happen.
Go ahead.
I think that a lot of provinces and municipalities were left in a bad place at how rapid things were pushed through with the legalization, and I do hope that that's the case with the province of Alberta. I believe that government should not be involved in private industry like they are right now, and unfortunately I do believe that's because it was thrust on them so quickly. So I do support them getting out of private business and allow business owners to actually succeed and get their investment back that they are sitting on, and obviously removing the red tape and overregulation in that as well.
I'm definitely not going to say the words red tape again, because I wrote that down. But one of the things that the Alberta Party does want to do is we want to do a 50-50 revenue sharing model where that money goes directly into the municipalities for the municipalities to use at their discretion, and that is above what the NDP is offering right now, which is $1.25 per person.
Okay, Paula?
Thank you, and I've heard that issue, and I can understand the burden during limbo, especially with high rent prices for people in Jasper. I will work with the government to make it easier and find a solution that works better. But I do know Alberta had the best rollout in Canada, and small businesses are benefiting under the New Democratic government.
Thank you. Dwayne.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I'd like to go back to the question a few moments ago of diversification of our economy in this province. And the answers that I heard, none of them addressed the crucial industry for our community, tourism. And I would like to hear all of your comments on how your parties, or you, if elected, would support this crucial industry in our community. Thank you.
Absolutely. And I was talking to somebody just the other day about tourism and how we appear in the eyes of other parts of the country. And I have friends in Ontario, I have friends in Quebec, and a lot of them know absolutely nothing about Alberta. We've got these fantastic Travel Alberta ads that used to pop up all over the place, and this Tourism Alberta, but Eastern Canada has not seen these. And I would be working very hard with the tourism branch to get some ads in Eastern Canada, and that has a multiple faceted benefit to Alberta. Not only do we get the tourism coming out here and seeing what Alberta's about, maybe we're going to get some pipelines built to the east or get some energy sold to the east that's going to help diversify and fund a little bit more of our province.
We plan to direct Travel Alberta to work with tourism stakeholders to develop a new 10-year tourism strategy, recognizing the role that the private sector can play in assisting government in promoting Alberta as a tourist destination. We also want to work with the federal government and the airport authorities to have them expand air transport agreements and get more flights to Alberta from tourist source countries. Our goal is to target to double tourism in Alberta by 2030 to $20 billion.
Stephen Mandel has made this a priority for the Alberta Party. He comes to Jasper quite often and he feels that this is a priority. So we would go back to having a ministry just for tourism to show the importance of it. As well as as I spoke before, we would take the actual hotel tax right now and turn it back into tourism dollars, providing infrastructure for communities, but also money to look at how to increase the diversification of tourism throughout Jasper.
Thank you.
I know we do not have a plan specifically on tourism, but thank you for your question. In independent Alberta, the control will be removed from Ottawa and put to the people of Alberta. So if what the people of Jasper want will be decided by the people of Jasper. If they need it, they will have it. Thank you.
Paula?
Thank you, Dwayne. Being born and raised here, I can appreciate Jasper and the tourism industry. I know it is important for us and our community to continue to diversify it. I will advocate for more advertising, but mostly I would like to get together with the locals in our town, the business owners, and find out what you think we need to do as a government to promote our town.
Thank you. Okay, I have a couple of questions here to everyone. Jasper Municipal Council is currently discussing a single-use reduction bylaw. What is your position on a provincial single-use reduction plan? Everybody understand the question?
Yep.
Straws and plastic bags.
We officially do not have a platform on that. Thank you.
Hi, thank you. Yeah, single-use plastic, that's been big topic coming up in our house with my husband and I discussing it being a local discussion in council. I'm very excited for that discussion, and it would be something that I would advocate for and bring forward to our provincial government. I think our government is very environmentally conscious, and we're looking to diversify our economy and find new energy sources, and I think that we would be interested in talking about that and finding out more.
Thank you. Christy?
The Alberta Party wants to look at reopening the legislation around recycling, period. And for me, single-use plastics is probably one of the biggest areas that we need to address around plastics in some of your fast food products, as well as plastic bags, that sort of thing. And once we start looking at a manufacturer's responsibility legislation where we put the responsibility back on the manufacturer, then the manufacturer will find better ways of providing product to us without it being single-use plastics.
Thank you. Marty?
I'm not aware of any policy we have, but for me personally, I believe we all have to do a better job of taking care of our environment. We have to leave less of an environmental footprint. Another area that I want to see our towns get better, other than single use, is actually our composting programs. There are a lot of communities that we could learn from in those in order to get those rolling in our own communities.
Thank you. Paul?
Thank you. I don't know if anybody's aware of this or if everybody is, But due to recent political turmoils, China has stopped receiving our recycling. They are not receiving any more of our garbage, no more of our recycling, etc. So the government of Alberta has instructed most of our communities that no recycling shall be separated. It all goes into the landfill. We cannot continue to do this. We cannot continue to have single-use packaging. We cannot continue to have single-use cups, etc. We must find a way to make them either reusable, recyclable, or don't produce them. And I think that everybody's absolutely correct here. We have to find a way to become more environmentally responsible with our packaging and with our use.
Thank you. Question for Martin Long.
You know me as Martin? How did you know that?
I heard him say it.
Oh,
What is the benefit of allowing schools to tell the parents their children have joined a gay-straight alliance?
I only get this question every couple days at the door and in every forum that I attend. I believe, and the United Conservatives believe, that gay-straight alliances are extremely important in helping LGBTQ youth know they have support. We do not support mandatory notification. Education Act Bill 10 requires GSAs are available in all schools. Where we are not supporting Bill 24 is for Bill 24 states that it's illegal to notify parents under any circumstance, regardless of age, and knowing that's from kindergarten to grade 12. We do believe that there may be an extreme circumstance where for younger children, do I have 2 minutes? 2 minutes. Yeah. And those who are facing emotional or mental health challenges, an extreme circumstance where a teacher might feel it's necessary to engage the caring support of loving parents based on protecting the child. And I don't feel that they should be putting their profession at risk in doing that. Now, I also do not believe that any teacher should or would ever reveal a child's sexual orientation, because that is private.
Thank you. Question here. Could the parties comment on how they are going to address the need for more seniors continuing care spaces that will be affordable and accessible? Would like to start off. Go ahead.
The Alberta Party is proposing additional 3,500 long-term beds, as well as a program where we would allow seniors, when they feel it's in their best interest, to age in place and offer supports for seniors to stay in their home longer by providing housekeeping, food prep, maintenance, that sort of thing.
Go ahead, Paul.
My parents are 88 and 85 years old. They're living at home. I am terrified of the prospect that I might have to put them into extended care one day. I have a friend who's currently in extended care. He has Parkinson's disease. His care costs him $6,500 a month. That is absolutely ridiculous. And his wife is not allowed to live with him. I find that reprehensible, and I cannot support an environment like that. I would be pushing forward a private member's bill that would allow big companies to sponsor seniors' care facilities, and rather than having the Pengrowth Saddle Dome or Scotiabank Saddle Dome, whatever it's called now, perhaps we could see the Scotiabank Senior Center. And I would be finding ways of encouraging our students who are taking healthcare programs to live in residences so they can share in the workload and get credit from their school towards their education.
will provide capital funding for immediate creation of new long-term care beds for community, nonprofit, and independent providers. We also plan to return to the Affordable Supportive Living Initiative partnerships to ensure more units are built more quickly and cost effectively. We also want to allow for more community innovative options like personal care homes where up to 15 people for seniors who require more care than they can get at home alone, but less care than they can get in supportive living facilities.
The Alberta Pension Plan will offer, off of a $45,000 annual earnings, would equate to $3,750 out of the Alberta Pension Plan, with a $1,250 monthly top-up for long-term care requirements. Thank you.
Thank you for your question. Seniors are very important, and we have a wonderful platform for them. As hardworking Albertans age, they deserve a government that supports them when they need it, and the government believes seniors shouldn't have to worry about whether they'll be able to get the care they need as they age. Rachel Notley appointed the first permanent seniors advocate, created the Aging Well program, and started a loan program for seniors to make home renovations, allowing them to stay in their home longer. It keeps them in their communities longer. We also, within the last 4 years, opened 2,100 long-term care and dementia beds. We passed, our government will provide, if re-elected, an additional 2,000 long-term care beds and dementia beds, and we passed legislation to give care residents and families more input into their living facilities. I have heard that there is more work needed in SL3 and SL4 spaces. I will advocate for that.
Okay, thank you. Have we got anybody up at the mic? No? Okay, I'm going to do one more question, and then we're going to get to closing remarks. Get some of these folks on the road tonight. In the last 4 years, the province's debt has increased tremendously. How will you lower the debt? I'm assuming this is to all. Question on the debt. Travis, ready as usual.
Simply by keeping the $40 billion a year that goes to Ottawa never to return. An independent Alberta could pay off the debt in 3 years while still lowering taxes, increasing services, and run a $15 billion increase on the fourth year, or surplus, sorry, on the fourth year. Thank you.
Thank you for your question. Our government was dealt a tough hand with a collapse in oil prices, neglected infrastructure, and deteriorating services. Instead of making a bad situation worse, we focused on what matters to Albertans: jobs, diversification, education, and healthcare. We have a measured plan to get back to balance by 2023 without cutting education and healthcare. Kenny's own MLAs say that his plans are going to hurt. In the last quarter, before the election was called, we brought the deficit down by $1.9 billion from Budget 2018 projects. We have the lowest debt to GDP ratio in the country. We are sitting at 8%, where BC is at 14.8% and Saskatchewan at 15.3%. Oil hasn't returned to $100 a barrel, but we are recovering and we are bringing down the deficit faster than projected.
Thank you.
90% of employees in Alberta are employed by small to medium-sized businesses. So this is key in order for us to get back to a place of a good economy. As well as, I think we mentioned like a gazillion times about diversifying our economy, so I think that we can bring that back. I do want to spend my minute talking about the amount of businesses that have left Alberta in the last 4 years, and no pipeline or anything like that is going to fix that. It's a matter of bringing back those businesses to Alberta, offering good incentives to bring them back so those good jobs come back as well.
The number's over 40 billion, actually, of private investment that has fled from our province. we have a plan to get industry to come back. We need to create a welcome environment for them with reasonable taxation, less red tape, less regulation, and get 170,000 unemployed Albertans back to work. That's how we plan on paying down the debt, is getting Albertans back to work.
Thank you. I recall reading a white paper, which is a fancy word for some technical thing, back in 2010 that said Alberta generates $10.2 million per day from the oil and gas industry. Without the oil and gas industry, we are not going to get out of debt. And the way that we're going to get the oil and gas industry functioning again is by recovering some of the orphan wells, by reducing some of our taxes on small and medium business, by getting people back to work, by getting our product to market through whether it be pipelines or innovation that's going to see a product developed here in Alberta that can utilize our heavy bitumen or our crude or whatever the case may be. We also need to recognize that our natural gas is a key resource for Alberta, and we need to find ways of getting our natural gas to tidewaters as well as utilizing it here for general or electric generation and so on. There's a massive amount of convolution necessary to get our debt paid down, but it all starts with putting people back to work and getting industry back in here, small, medium, and large.
Thank you. At this time, we're going to go to closing remarks by the candidates. It's going to be in reverse order of the opening remarks. And any comments or rebuttals to questions posed during the question period may be addressed during the candidate's closing statement if desired. So, in reverse order, we have Paula Cackett first.
Thank you, Brian. Before I say my closing remarks, I want to speak to workers' rights. I believe in Alberta, Albertans deserve to be treated fairly at work. We should have strong workplace rules to protect the rights of hardworking Albertans. The Notley government made long overdue changes to health and safety rules to ensure workplace safety committees and a range of other improvements. The NDP government has also overhauled the WCB to ensure workers get better treatment and better payouts. On page 21 of the UCP platform, it states, return to allowing banked hours to be paid out at regular pay instead of time and a half. This is not acceptable. Hard-working Albertans should not be paid less if they want to take vacation with banked hours rather than being paid out overtime.
Thank you. Oh, you're not done. I saw you push the microphone.
Now for my closing remarks. Friends, it's been an honor to share this time with you on behalf of Rachel Notley. This important election is about a stark choice. Who is fit to be your premier? Who do you trust to be your premier? As someone born and raised in Jasper and as a nurse in Hinton, I understand your issues. As your MLA for West Yellowhead, I will stand up for the forestry industry, completion of the pipeline, and good jobs at the mill. I will fight to keep taxes low for small businesses. I will fight for the growth of the tourism industry. I will fight for affordable housing for all. Healthcare will remain high quality and not Americanized or privatized under the Kenney regime. I'm surprised that a question on the pine beetle infestation did not come up here. But I will fight to mitigate the pine beetle infestation and keep funding coming through for FireSmart. Healthcare will remain high quality. Oh, sorry. Let's remember, Rachel's record is clear. She does what she promises: good jobs, good hospitals and schools, an honest government. Those are Rachel's priorities. Those are my priorities. You deserve nothing less. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Paula. Next we have Christy Gomulka from the Alberta Party.
In 2015, Albertans went to the poll and they wanted change. Since that day, we have seen the most divisive, hateful, disrespectful politics. It has divided us, and I am scared it will continue for the next 4 years. I am here to ask you, instead of voting for a side, let's vote for a solution. I want to tell you that I understand that Jasper is a proud town with a genuine and unique character and prides itself of being a town like no other. As I walked the streets door knocking, my heart was warmed by the number of people who stopped to talk to me and smile with smiles, or the fact that I never came across a house that needed a security system, or your Senate that meets every morning at the local A&W. I loved every moment I spent here in the past few months. West Yellowhead is a large constituency that goes from very conservative in the east to very progressive in the west. You will need an MLA that will need to understand and support your vision for Alberta as much as other parts of the area. I believe that the Alberta Party is that moderate choice that will respect all points of views within our constituency. I am excited about the opportunity to voice and be your champion. I'd like to also thank the Jasper Chamber of Commerce for hosting the events, and thank you to all of you for coming out and engaging in this fundamental right of democracy. This election is critical. We need to see past the polarization happening to find a path forward. There have been lots of promises made and each party has something to offer you. Now your decision on who to vote for is about who reflects the closest to your values and your vision for the future. I can promise you that you will always have a place at my kitchen table. There is never an issue that we cannot overcome, and we will be stronger together than we will ever be separated by ideologies. No matter what, I have loved to get to know this place. I love the chance to keep going. Let's build West Yellowhead together. Vote Kristi Gamoka on April 16th. Thank you.
Thank you. Martin Long, United Conservative Party.
Thank you again, everyone, for being here and taking part tonight. Just very quickly, I would encourage you, if you haven't yet, and it interests you, to read our full platform. One thing that I'm very proud of is the healthcare portion, where we have committed to maintain or increase healthcare funding in a universally accessible, publicly funded system. But not just stop there, but to ensure that that money is getting to the front lines where it belongs. But this upcoming election is likely the most important that Alberta has ever faced. The reality is, Alberta is struggling. We have the slowest projected economic growth rate in the country, and outside of the Atlantic provinces, we have the highest provincial unemployment rate. We have 170,000 unemployed Albertans, 35,000 unemployed youth. Our debt is spiraling out of control. Currently, it's almost $50 billion, projected to be at $100 billion by 2023. That means that we are spending right now $2 billion on interest payments per year. That's $5 million per day. That is money that needs to be invested in hospitals and schools and seniors facilities across our province, and instead, it's making investment bankers in other countries rich. It's up to us to decide what direction our province will take. The United Conservatives are focused on what matters to Albertans: the economy and jobs, strong public services, accountable government, and leaving a better Alberta for future generations. For most of us, the decision is quite easy. For those who are still uncertain, I would challenge to simply ask yourself if you feel you and our province are better off today than you were 4 years ago. Then ask yourself, which party do you think is best suited to lead our province on a path to recovery and ensure that we have the future that we deserve? Thank you.
Thank you. Paul Lipchuk of the Alberta Advantage Party.
So they weren't clapping for me yet?
Yours is coming.
There you go. I think I can speak for almost everybody up front here. This has been the toughest room that we've sat in front of in all of the sessions we've been to. And that's not because you're difficult people, it's because you have challenges here that are unique to this riding. And if your representative as an MLA does not recognize that, then they do you and this riding of West Yellowhead a remarkable disservice, one that is an absolute shame. A little while ago I stood up and I spoke about fluoride, and at the break, this lovely young lady over here came up and said, "You're correct about that, but did you know this?" Subsequent to that conversation, I've done a little research. My mind has been not changed, but opened a bit. And when you have an MLA, your MLA must be able to be flexible, must be able to do the research, take your word and go with it and find the best solution for everybody. And I mean everybody, not just the conservatives that I talked to this morning out in Wildwood, or the liberals that I talked to earlier on today and wherever the heck that was I was. I've been all over the place today. That person who is your representative must demonstrate the values and the morality that you yourself demonstrate. And if you elect a person who has represented another person, they too must have the morals and values. Whether they agree with you politically or not is irrelevant at some level. It's like the chicken farmers who have free-range chickens and the hothouse chickens. Which is a better chicken? Or do we just care that it's chicken we can eat? We really need to focus on what's important to Albertans, and that is keeping people employed, keeping our seniors taken care of, keeping our children educated, keeping our homes safe, making sure that violators are prosecuted and punished by putting more sheriffs on the road, more prosecutors in our courts, and more judges. We really need to look at a party who is going to help everyone, not just the people who vote for them. Somebody phoned me last night and he ragged on me, literally yelled at me and swore at me and called me names for 20 minutes. This morning, that same person phoned the leader of my party and said, you know what? I talked to Paul for 20 minutes last night, I'm voting for him. I don't understand it. He says he's the only one who's answered my questions and been honest with me. Ladies and gentlemen, this is about honesty. It's not about fighting. It's not about betrayal. It's not about slinging mud. It's about values, morals, and connecting with you to be your voice on all levels. I'm Paul Lubachuk. I'm the Alberta Advantage Party, and I will do everything I can to help people of West Yellowhead. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Travis Poirier of the Alberta Independence Party is last but not least.
Thank you. First, I'd like to address a few things that I didn't totally get it wrong, but I could have had better answers. A lot of anything to do with healthcare or education in a new Alberta. If Albertans need it, there will be funding for that. One other thing I would like to mention, the new nation of Alberta will be able to buy all municipal debt. That's every town, city, county, and offer 0% interest on all those debts, and offer up to 29 years for repayment on those. Now I'd like to apologize. I'm sorry, I never really had a chance to do something official for my closing. I was supposed to write that after I got to enjoy the beauty of what is Jasper. And what was supposed to be a short stroll along Moline Canyon turned into a 4-hour hike. So I would like to apologize for that. So with that in mind, please bear with me one moment, please. I'm sorry. The Alberta Independence Party has a plan is the only party that has a plan for an immediate 180-degree turnaround and economic growth in Alberta. Lower taxes for both businesses and personal, as well as eliminating governmental waste and corruption. We are for Albertans by Albertans, meaning we are giving the power back to the people. You, all the Albertans, will have a voice. As well, First Nations will be given full sovereignty and rights to all their resources above and below the ground on their reserves. The Alberta Independence Party is inspired by a resolute commitment to Alberta to gain autonomy and will pursue this goal relentlessly. We represent the prosperous future of Alberta and its citizens, those of us alive today and those yet to come. Sorry again, I am not a public speaker. I'm sitting up here vibrating. Sorry, hope you can tell. I'm aware that some of the numbers that were presented to you tonight, they do sound too good to be true, but if you could just imagine $50 billion divided by 4.2 million people of Alberta, that equates about $11 million each. That is quite a surplus, and a prosperity for growth in Alberta could be exponential. We all want a better tomorrow, future, and a great prosperous Alberta again. Thank you.
Thank you, Travis, and thank you for always being ready to be the first one to speak. That was very helpful. At this time, I'd like to remind you that Election Day, I know you all know, is Tuesday, April 16th. The polling station is in the curling rink and is open from 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. Please note the advanced polling station is located in this very room and will be open on Thursday, April 11th to Saturday, April 13th. And voting by special ballot is available to any elector who is unable to vote at the advanced poll or at the voting station on Election Day because of physical incapacity or absence from the jurisdiction. Applications for special ballot can be made by telephone or in person by contacting the returning officer, Katie Kopp. Contact information is posted on that exit door. Now I'd like to take a moment to thank the many partners who came together to provide this forum as a community service. The lead organization, Jasper Park Chamber of Commerce, and partners PSAV for the audio assistance, Dave Callan, IOTAD's Dave Baker, the Fitzhugh for assisting with publicizing the event, and individually Naji Khoury for monitoring the chat room, the Municipality of Jasper for assisting with the venue, and finally Amy Edlin, Carmen Dirksen, and Elsa Begrand, and the entire Jasper Park Chamber of Commerce team. And of course, last but certainly not least, I'd like to congratulate and thank the candidates for putting their names forward, giving us a full slate of candidates to vote for, and I know you guys are all going to vote. Maybe bring a friend. Thank you, and that concludes our evening.